Marketing for the Now is the most contemporary show about what's actually happening. Marketing is going through one of its biggest transformations ever, where this thing controls the game. And there's so many things we pay attention to, but we get to talk to the brightest and best minds in marketing on Marketing for the Now.
Hello. Hi, Marketing for the Now community. Hi, Vayner family. Thank you all for joining us today on a very special edition of Marketing for the Now. I'm Avery Akinini, the CMO at Vayner, and I'm sitting here in our new Miami office where you can see Gary's signature right behind us. And I'm thrilled to be kicking off today's back to school episode of Marketing for the Now with 7 incredible guests. For Marketing for the Now stands, usually we have 5, but we had just an extra packed episode with so many incredible brand speakers who are going to be joining us today and sharing a little bit about their back to school strategies. We know that it's September. Everyone is starting to think into 2025 already, but back to school season is well in swing. And we've lined up just this all-star crowd to share a little bit of their insights. I'm going to first bring up Kate. Kate is actually at the Hudson Yards office of Vayner Media. So hi, Kate.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. Okay, tell us, how was Hudson Yards today? You're at Vayner HQ.
Yes, it's popping. There's a lot of people in the office. It's Wednesday. It feels like everybody's really back in the swing of things, and it's a little steamy in New York today. So
Well, I'm in Miami, so it's very steamy in Miami. It's probably 90 degrees here today, but I don't mind it a bit. Kate, you are the head of media and content at PDC Brands. I know you have had this absolutely incredible career. A little birdie told me that when you were at Spotify, you actually helped launch the Wrapped campaign, which I have to say is one of my favorite campaigns of all time. And you've been making big waves and a lot of magic at PDC Brands. You're a recognized leader in the industry, 2024 Brand Innovators, 40 Under 40, all of the accolades. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you for taking time. Can you tell Marketing for the Now a little bit about you?
Yeah, thank you for having me. So yes, I've been in media for about 16 years. I've worked on the agency side for a number of years. So really relate to the team here. And I love the energy on the agency side. As well as on the brand side. And so I've been working with PDC for about 3 years. And I can't believe the time's flown since I started there. And we're going through a lot of change right now, a lot of exciting things at the company. And just very excited to be here. I'm working for the Now.
So PDC Brands is a family of brands, has a lot of exciting beauty, sort of healthcare products. My favorite is Dr. Teal's. Can you tell a little bit of some of the other brands in the family, maybe your favorite PDC brand?
Ooh, I don't like to play favorites because I work with all the brands and they're all great. But yeah, PDC, we're one of the fastest growing beauty and wellness companies within our space. And we're really focused on the wellness side, especially like you said, with Dr. Teal's. It's one of our fastest growing brands. And I think it's one of those brands that people fall in love with. I discovered the brand actually before I started at PDC. And I think the benefits are just amazing to what Epsom salt baths and a Dr. Teal's bath can offer. So that's
lavender is wow, love. Okay, So it's back to school. That's a time when a lot of people are thinking about sort of getting in their routines, crafting that sort of new routine for themselves. Can you talk a little bit about sort of how you think about this season at PDC Brands and sort of the start of new routines and how that might relate to your content and media strategies?
Yeah, I think it's exactly like you said. It's that start of the year in a lot of ways for people. I've just started school for my son. He's in pre-K. And it is a lot of getting back into routine, especially when it comes to wellness and taking care of yourself and finding those moments where you can really focus on your own health, your own wellness, whether it be physical or mental. And I think for us, we're a very inclusive company. And especially when we look at Dr. Teal's, it's a very inclusive brand that's, I think when you talk about Epsom salt specifically and magnesium, it's a great wellness trend right now. Everyone's talking about magnesium and it has a ton of health and wellness benefits. And I think that's where we're really focused as a company is communicating how do you get into these wellness routines? How do you take care of yourself for multitude of different reasons? And the solutions that we offer, I think are huge for consumers.
I love that you just went there with magnesium, because we need to talk to Magnesium's PR agent. Like, they're doing an amazing job. Magnesium is just absolutely trending on social. People are talking about it. Right now, I think just in this post-COVID era, people are seeking solutions to help them feel, 100% themselves, and self-care is huge. Can you talk a little bit about how you all stay on top of some of these wellness trends? I know a lot of your brands sort of exploded during this self-care movement. How do you all, what's your process for staying on top of those things?
Yeah, I think we're true to ourselves as a brand and the products that we offer. So I think we're lucky where consumers and the wellness industry is really discovering and highlighting some of these ingredients that really solve different solutions, whether it's your physical body, aches and pains, soreness, needing to recover faster from workouts, or it's your mental health. You just need to take a break. You need to take some time for yourself. You need to calm down. These products are really great for doing that for consumers. So it was the right place, right time, but I think there's still such fast moving trends in the wellness space. We like to lean into culture like a lot of brands do, but we want to make sure it's the right time and it's the right place for our brands and the message we're trying to say. I think what's really important for us is jumping in and involving ourselves in trends, in conversations where it's right. We don't want to lose our brand voice. We don't want to lose our brand message in trying to keep up with those trends. So that's where I think it's a struggle, but it's a fine line. And I think we're doing a great job with partnering with the Sasha team and helping us find those moments.
I think you all are doing an amazing job. And I think that there's the play of sort of the owned and the earned and the community. From your paid media side to the organic social, there's just a lot of conversation and trends. And I love what you said there, Kate, is you have amazing products and people are naturally, organically discovering these. And then you're leaning into that to help tell your brand story and help them learn even more. What are you inspired by on social these days? Like, you're a consumer too. You're coming from potentially perceived as a social app in Spotify. What are you inspired by on social these days?
Yeah, I think, as a mom, I'm seeing a lot of content for parenting. I get a lot of content from brands that are offering solutions, and some of them stick, some of them don't. But I would say right now, for me personally, I turn to social media for entertainment and for inspiration. There's a lot happening in the world right now. There's a lot of noise and a lot of clutter. And what really stands out to me are brands that are inspiring people. Yep. So a little bit less, I think, in the traditional kind of CPG space. But one example that I always have is Female Quotient. I think they're an amazing brand and media company that is really inspiring and uplifting people, and especially women right now, which I think is important.
Absolutely. Shout out to Shelly, to Talia, to the whole team at FQ. They are amazing. And what I love about their content as well is they really stand for, uplifting female voices. And Shelly had a really good quote recently, and she was talking about women don't need to be empowered. They need to empower. Yes. And they do a great job of also finding these viral quotes and clips and sharing them with their audience in such an engaging and inspiring way.
Yeah, I definitely see their content and walk away thinking about it for a while afterwards, and I think that's something that is hard to find in social media. So if you can do that, then you're doing something right.
And they've really broken through on organic social media. I think in the last year, they've gone from 1 million to 5 million followers through posting this kind of content, which is really engaging, which is really inspiring. And that also leans into a lot of the trends that people are maybe curious about, they're searching for, they're looking for. So Kate, it is back to school season. If you had to send marketers back to school on one topic, what would it be?
I think the biggest thing for me right now is finding those opportunity markets within media. There's a constant change in consumption, and marketers aren't always as quick to pick up on where is the place that consumers are flooding to. So look at those channels where you see more and more consumers going and not as much dollars going. And I think that's where you find a lot of opportunity. We're up against competition that's much larger in our CPG space. And we're really an opportunity market type of marketer where we're looking at those channels within social, within audio, of course, for me. But I think there's an economic side of things for media where there's different channels that are going to really benefit your brand. So think outside the box.
So that's how you sort of play and you keep winning for Dr. Teal's and a lot of the brands under PDC is you're looking to sort of find that underpriced attention to capitalize on it, to get there faster, better, more organically before some of the big boys of CPG, which we know certainly exist, can go and outspend you.
Yes, it's helping us punch above our weight. So I think, like you said, underpriced attention is where it's at.
Fantastic. Kate, thank you so much for joining us. It was so wonderful to have you on Marketing for the Now. And everyone, if you have not checked out Dr. Teal's, I strongly recommend you give it a consideration. It is such an incredible brand and very aligned to the current trend of magnesium. So thank you for bringing that up, Kate, and thank you for being with us.
Thanks, Avery.
Okay, Kate is absolutely the best. PDC brands, definitely worth checking out. They're one of those companies to just continue to innovate, continue to do really cool and interesting things and lean into this potential of underpriced attention. Next up, we have one of the big brand houses, Walmart. I'm going to welcome up Justin, who is the head of all things brand marketing innovation at Walmart and one of my favorite people. Justin, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. And I just learned a lot about magnesium, so I'm excited to later tonight do some research and look into Dr.
That
Teal's.
hasn't hit your algo yet? Because it has hit mine.
Well, it probably will now because my phone's right here. Yeah.
That's the way that it goes. Justin, you have done so many really cool and impressive things. You joined Walmart, I believe, during COVID to launch interactive content platforms, in-store AR experiences, engaging shoppable live streams, and immersive virtual activations, including Walmart Discovered on Roblox. And I think that you have just been really a pioneer of showing how brands can succeed in these virtual worlds. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Because I just talked about you for a minute.
I know. Well, thank you for that warm introduction, and thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. So the work that the team does is really about meeting customers where they are online and shortening that distance between inspiration and commerce. It's great. Like Kate said, she looks to social for entertainment and inspiration, and so we're using that insight to help drive the what, the why, the how in terms of how we meet customers, where we're meeting them, and what we're providing them with. I always like to describe the work that the team does as like we're thinking outside of the four walls of Walmart. Okay. And I don't just mean the store, but I mean the app, the website, and showing up on platforms like Roblox or building brand destinations like Walmart Realm, where we're really just redefining what the future of retail can be. And so I think we're just scratching the surface. And of course, some of the things that you mentioned are the things that the team works on. But we're excited to continue to make retail fun again.
I mean, it's really impressive when you look at everything that Gen Alpha is important, everything that's important to them, everything that they're saying and communicating and also sort of speaking with their actions. We know virtual worlds and virtual things and digital items are incredibly important to this next generation of consumers. But we also know it's incredibly important to be careful about the way that you market to or engage with those communities. Can you tell us a little bit about Walmart Realm and a little bit of what you guys have built?
Yeah, so Walmart Realm is an owned and operated brand destination. It's an immersive commerce experience that's driven by social trends. It's curated by the names and faces of people that the next generation are looking to for inspiration. And so we're inviting that next generation of customer into an environment that looks and feels familiar. It looks and feels familiar to the platforms that they're spending their time on, looks and feels familiar in terms of the way in which they're discovering products, all of which are being represented virtually. And hopefully it's inspiring them and it's shortening that distance between inspiration and commerce. It's also, in some instances, giving them the confidence to make that purchase digitally because they're seeing an item displayed in a way that maybe they never thought they would have seen it. Or they're discovering that Walmart sells fashion. And the fashion that Walmart sells is perfect for a particular trend or theme. And so it's educating consumers about Walmart in a way that traditional channels just don't allow us to do. And so Walmart Realm has been a really fun initiative. We've done 2 big updates, the second of which was 5 virtual dorms, which of course makes sense for back to school and back to college time. And again, we invited customers in to shop these immersive spaces.
Okay, and where does Walmart Realm exist?
Walmart Realm, walmartrealm.com. So you can go straight to walmartrealm.com and you can step inside these 5 rooms, again, driven by social trends, and check out these great products. It's a really fun environment. And if you haven't been, I definitely encourage you to check it out.
So cool. And Justin, I love that you also tie this to sort of peak commerce seasons. Like back to school must be huge for Walmart. Of course, there's kids, there's K-12, there's like university kids and their Walmart hauls. That's a big part of like that sort of back to school season. So was that part of the inspiration of sort of making this like thematic and on trend and aligned to what people are looking for?
Yeah, and of course, like the back to college demographic, like that is who Walmart Realm is for. That is the core demographic. And so providing them with something that is contextually relevant at a moment in time where they're thinking through, how do I want to decorate my dorm? What are the things that I want to buy for my first week or month at school? How do I represent myself in a way that feels on trend? And this immersive environment provides them with that inspiration to hopefully, again, make the purchases for things that they need for their dorm, whether it be apparel, backpacks, et cetera. But it's displayed in a way that I think people just don't expect retail to display products, which is fun.
I feel like people don't expect Walmart to be as far into innovation as you all are. I've been really impressed with a lot of the work that you all have done on Roblox. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I feel like Walmart was one of the sort of pioneering retailers there when that was like the hottest thing to do. But not only were you in that sort of early wave, but you've continued to iterate and to build. And if I'm not wrong, you just got back from RDC. So tell us a little bit about your journey on Roblox.
Yeah, I mean, I am such a fan of the platform and really the community. I mean, I think like RDC, it was the first time I had ever been, and it was so inspiring and wholesome, and the community that made Roblox what it is today is just so invested in the success of that particular platform and our embracing of brands with Walmart Discovered in particular, which is what our experience is on the platform. You know, the experience was nominated by the community as a best branded experience, which is such an honor. You know, we've been on the platform now for more than 2 years. We've tested various versions of how to bring Walmart onto that platform. We've learned, I always say, the good, the bad, the ugly. And of course, we've used all of that to inform what you see today in market, which is Walmart Discovered. For those that don't know, Walmart Discovered is a utility on the platform. It's all about making the search experience better for the community. And the things that you're finding in Walmart Discovered are what you would find on the platform. So you would find virtual items or experiences or games, and we're populating it in a more immersive, fun way. And so it was our way to give back to the community, but also give them a stage to be discovered. So we allow sort of like parity among all creators on the platform and invite them to be a part of our community and be discovered by the broader community. So big fan of Roblox, proud of what the team has built. We have fantastic partners in Sawhorse and Geek, and I'm incredibly grateful to the work that they've done to make Walmart Discovered what it is today.
So cool. And I believe you all were the first retailer to actually link purchasing something through a UGC item to in-store. Can you explain a little bit about sort of that journey and you know how that all came to be as well?
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, because we're such believers in the platform, and the platform has more than 80 million daily active users, like it's a place where we believe like the future of commerce should be. And so we partnered closely with Roblox on introducing a real world commerce test. We've done 5 drops
This
to date.
Such a big deal because so many people talk about this in the theoretical of like, oh, and it could link to real commerce. Like you all did it, live, proven.
It's cool. And you buy a real world item and then you get a virtual twin or a virtual item that is inspired by that particular product. You know, what we did to make it feel again like it was authentic to the community is we actually invited the community to be a part of that process. So they chose the products that we were selling. They created the virtual twin or virtual item. We actually just recently last week.
Sorry, just to interrupt you. I want to double click on that because a lot of times people will think that like, okay, amazing. Like I'm going to do this. These are my headphones. I'm going to sell the exact same ones on Roblox. That doesn't necessarily work with the community. So what you just said is you invited the community to add their own spin to it.
That's right.
Can you maybe like unpack what that means? Yeah. Because I don't think that every brand marketer necessarily makes that connection, but that was really, I think, a huge part of the success.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, I think like for something like this, like our intention wasn't to just launch commerce on the platform and you know, have Walmart come in and be like, this is what real world commerce is. It very much was, we have people that are a part of our community that have helped make Walmart Discovered what it is today. They should have a seat at the table in introducing real world commerce, and they should educate us on what makes sense for the broader community. And what we learned through those conversations is that these virtual items or virtual twins shouldn't actually be identical replicas of the real world item. They should push the boundaries of what's possible because it's a virtual platform. And if we're using these virtual items as a mechanism to incentivize a purchase of a real world item on Roblox, then it should be something that is also, as it relates to the creator choosing the product and creating that item, it should reflect that creator, because that's who those people are looking to for inspiration and who they're buying their other virtual items for. And so we very much leaned into giving them creative liberty in making the virtual twins that we sold with these items. And I think that's what made it resonate so well, and why we're continuing to support these real world drops on Walmart Discovered. Our next one coming in just a couple weeks.
Can't wait for that. Justin, I did see one comment that said, is the kitchen background real? So
it is.
Tell us, that is the real.
Yeah, this is my Bosch microwave. Yeah, not sponsored.
Not sponsored. It's real. This is not in Roblox. Justin,
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us today and for joining us on Marketing for the Now. Take care.
Bye.
Justin is just the best. Everyone, if you have not had the chance to go check out what Walmart is doing in Roblox and across some of their other interactive platforms, please do. It is really impressive. Next, I have the incredible pleasure to be welcoming up Michelle. Michelle is the CMO at Sprinkles, and she is an absolute queen across a million different things. I recently learned you started your career as a pastry chef, first female president of Leo Burnett, now CMO at Sprinkles and marketing thought leader across every which accolade. Michelle, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I would love to take credit for the Leo Burnett one, but I think my my Burnetters would fact check me on that one. But it was at Daily in LA here. But I did start my career in Chicago at Burnett, and that was an amazing time.
One of the best agencies, absolutely iconic. So, Michelle, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your career as a marketing leader and what brought you to Sprinkles?
Yes. So as noted, I started my career in advertising. I was incredibly lucky to start in Chicago, and sort of it felt very sort of still very Mad Men era back in those days. It was very fun. I've worked in everything from travel and tourism to spirits to a ton of CPG. I think every sort of aisle in the store I have been in, and that's been a great time. But I started at Sprinkles as a consultant, and I think it was a combination of my experience in advertising and marketing, but also background in the culinary space and as a pastry chef that kind of felt like these worlds were finally merging in the most perfect way. And I ended up staying, and it's just been so much fun.
Oh my gosh, you all have just built such an iconic brand that seems to be absolutely everywhere. I'm seeing a couple people say hi in the chat. Denise from New Jersey, thank you for joining us. Everybody is pumped to see Michelle. Okay, Michelle, can you tell us a little bit about some exciting projects that you've worked on recently? Anything exciting going on in back to school season with your mini cupcakes?
Yes. So we've had a ton of fun these last few years. Really leaning into our core value around innovation. And that's everything from entirely new products. We've just launched these cookie parfaits. So it's like a jar of cookies, but they're like layered with like frosting and marshmallows and crunchy bits and salty bits. I mean, it's just incredible. To really interesting flavors that I think that we really think are on trend, but that we are as food people really passionate about. So everything from Vietnamese coffee to playing with seasonal fruits in the summer. We did a mango cupcake. And so it's just been a great time. But the minis thing has been awesome. We had mini cupcakes before. We sort of brought them back because it really felt like something that our guest was needing. And we were looking at the back to school timeframe. And it's like what you want to bring to class and share, or with teachers and friends and things like that. But we didn't stop there. The sort of minification of food has been a really fun thing. And so we've miniaturized our cookies. We're planning on other ways to sort of play with this idea, and really taking the product and making it more fun and enjoyable to the guests.
So fun, so enjoyable. And I love those mini cupcakes as a gift for someone. If you're going to, we have a client meeting, a presentation, something like that. It's the perfect sort of on the go. And, one thing I also love about Sprinkles is sort of your iconic look and feel. Can you talk a little bit about like how as a CMO you help spread that across the world, across social?
Yes. I mean, I was very lucky, right? I'm walking into such a beloved brand with such a clear brand identity. But we also knew that there were some spaces that we could push harder in. A lot of that was around our perspective within pastry and culinary and desserts and treats and all those things. And so we really leaned into the look of the food and the product. We went into productions and shoots, and I was just like, I want you to look at something and feel like, what is the feeling you get from this cupcake? And I have to say, some of the sexiest photography of cupcakes, and it's been a real joy. But I think what we've done is translated the look and feel of the brand, the joy, the celebration, the playfulness, the color, all of that across all of our touch points. And when we're opening new bakeries or we're opening ATMs in another airport that you've seen around the country, taking that brand look and feel across everything has been really, really cool.
I mean, that is so cool because we're just talking about like Walmart innovation, digital shopping. Your innovation is like the red dot of the cupcake, which to me is just so iconic for the brand. But it's in cookie jars now. It's in ATMs. You're trying different flavors like Vietnamese coffee, all still while playing in the space of food and culinary, which is so exciting and so fun. And I agree with you that I think your product photography is sexy. It is so beautiful. And people want to share it and crave it, which is so important in a category like yours. So tell us a little bit about, what you're seeing in terms of back to school trends, in terms of social trends, just as a consumer, as a marketer, what's catching your eye?
We've had a lot of fun around having a brat summer, having a demure summer. And it's, as a marketer, it's also great to sort of see what happened with that. And so how every sort of brand jumped in and who's doing it right and who's doing it not so well. Kate had mentioned earlier, it's just like, how are you making a trend fit for your brand? I think what's really, again, fortunate for a brand like Sprinkles is we can play in the space of fun and sort of this lifestyle activity because of where we sit in people's lives. I mean, when your product is centered around a celebration or a happy moment, I mean, you're never sad when you're getting a cupcake. And so it's been great to sort of play in that space and really pay attention to what's coming up next and what makes sense for us.
I love that. What is your sort of role taught you about yourself, Michelle? We got to spend a little bit of time together at VCon, and you're a person who has such a great perspective, not only of your own brand, but what's happening in culture. How has being a CMO really taught you something about yourself?
It has shown me what it's like to be, or what I really hope I am and want to continue to be, is an empathetic leader. There's talking about memes. So the meme where it's just like, I'm the cool mom. I often say to my agency partners and our contacts, like, I'm a cool client, I swear, I promise. But I think having that perspective of being on both sides of the fence and really understanding a total business, being on the brand side, being so fully integrated across all of our cross-functional teams has taught me so much. Really just actually reinforce the importance of marketing, understanding that there's a role and a reason why marketing needs to be in those same meetings with supply chain and operations and culinary, and being able to communicate that with our external partners. And so people really have a holistic view on what's happening on the business, what are our needs, and how they can really help us.
I totally see you as the cool mom, the cool client. And Michelle, as a person who got to attend VCon, I would also love to pick your brain on that a little bit. What was your take on that conference? I believe it was your first year joining VCon. What did you think? The highs, the room for improvements? I'd love to hear it.
I was blown away by the energy, and it wasn't just like excitedness, because I think there was a lot of that. But I think what VCon brings is this idea of possibility and that anything is achievable, and people really are there to learn and to turn whatever it is that they want to do into the next level and into the next thing. And it's just incredibly positive and hopeful and optimistic, but with all of the work that it takes behind it. And I think that's really special. I've never seen or felt that kind of vibe with people that are like, I want to do something, and this is the place where I'm going to learn how to do it.
I love that. And almost, back to what Justin just mentioned, I feel like VCon is all about the community. There's the sort of Gary's community, and many of the folks who are watching this are part of that. There's the Vayner community, and sort of coming together in a place where people feel inspired, they feel engaged. They also feel a little bit more open to be like, hey, I need help with something. I have an idea.
Yes.
I think it all kind of gets to that sort of community feeling that people are craving, and they want to come to LA and spend time and meet each other and make new connections and make some magic happen. But this is a back to school episode, not a VCon episode. So Michelle, if you were sending marketers back to school in one subject in 2024, what would it be?
Ooh, it's got to be pop culture. It was great learning more about Walmart Realm. I just spent this past few days with my bestie's daughter, who's now a sophomore at UCLA, and getting her dorm ready, but really understanding from her what was happening in culture for her. And I think as marketers, we need to live and breathe all of it. And if there is a class where we could learn it all at once, that would be amazing. But I think just to continue to be immersed in it is the best way to have a good perspective on our work.
To participate in it 100%. Well, that is a perfect segue, because next up we have Allison from Poppi, the co-founder of Poppi. And I think they might have won back to school, honestly.
Yeah.
We need a Sprinkles Poppi collab.
I'm in.
For joining us. It's so wonderful to see you, and really appreciate you spending your time in Marketing for the Now.
Thank you, Avery. Bye.
Michelle is one of the greats. I am craving a Sprinkles cupcake, and maybe I'm also craving a Poppi. So next up we have Allison, who is the brand genius behind Poppi. Allison, it is so wonderful to see you. Thanks for being here with us.
No, thank you for having me. So good to see you, Avery.
So good to see you. Okay, so I'm just going to rattle off a couple of your accolades.
Yeah.
You went from launching Poppi in your kitchen maybe 4 years ago or something to running Super Bowl spots, starring in plenty of your TikToks, and being awarded all different kinds of things. And most importantly, maybe beloved by the Poppi community as Mama Poppi. Allison, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, no, I think you said it so well. Poppi is about 4.5 years old. We launched March of 2020, and it's just been such a crazy ride. I mean, we're the #1 selling soda on Amazon, fastest growing beverage in the nation, and it's just been pretty cool. But from my kitchen to retailers, Shark Tank deal, to now in every major retailer in the nation, it's definitely the American dream. So we're here for it.
And you made that American dream happen. So Allison, I feel like your marketing strategy has probably been a big part of the growth, and certainly of people following along on social. I see Dante saying in the chat that he loves Poppi. Everybody loves Poppi. Can you, but this is the back to school episode, so I want to get inside your brain of how you all absolutely crushed Rush. I saw you starring in one of these. Maybe can you tell our audience a little bit about how Poppi, I would say, won back to school in the Rush era?
Well, we noticed last year naturally Poppi showing up in so many Rush videos. And what we love about all things that we do is it organic? Is it authentic? And is it real? And do people actually like our product? So college was just such a natural segue into our back to school efforts. I mean, our mission is to revolutionize soda for the next generation. What is next generation is college. So with it, we decided to do a huge sponsorship and basically sponsor Rush. So we did seated, I think, over 900 different sororities. We gave away merch to over 300. If they asked for Poppi and reached out, we gave them Poppi. It was literally that simple. And let's be real, every college student has a phone in their hand. So they're organically making content. One of them slid into my DMs here, local Austin based at UT, the Zetas. And they're like, hey, you want to come by and just speak to our chapter? I go by, and then they're like, oh, by the way, will you also be in a dance with us? So they taught me the dance. We did it. It went wildly viral, but it was just so organic and natural and effortless. And I think that's half the battle with a lot of these things within college, because college students know when you try too hard. But we've opened up an ambassador program. I mean, we opened it up in like 24 hours. We had 300 people apply. Like, it's just been absolutely wild. And we did a really big pop-up in New York last week for our Cherry Cola launch, and we're seeing similar numbers from what we did with like 50 Cent performing and the whole Love Island crew coming and everyone posting through EMV as what we did simply seating and working with people at Poppi at college. The numbers are at par. It's absolutely insane.
That's honestly an amazing story. I thought that dance was like pre-planned. So you learned it on the spot. You saw it was happening. Everyone, if you're watching Marketing for the Now, I hope you're familiar with Rush Talk. Bama Rush, I think, kind of kicked it off. It's been a long, this has been around since forever of rush dances, but it started to go insanely viral. And I have to say, since I was in college, these girls have gotten very good.
They've up-leveled.
They have majorly up-leveled. Maybe it's the Poppi, maybe it's the probiotics that are helping them. But so you all had it, you saw that, you did a seeding program, you got invited, they taught you the dance, you posted it, and that, did the same type of numbers as more of a traditional campaign that you just did for New York Fashion Week.
Yeah. And I think what I always recommend in this digital first era is founders, people be like TikTok first, understand the platform. So for me, for them saying it, get in this dance and do it, I'm like, sure, let's try it. Let's see if I can learn it. Like, why not? Where I think a lot of people are resistant to that. If it's not pre-planned and it wasn't on the social calendar, and it's like these things, you kind of just have to go with the flow nowadays with this digital first era that we're all living in now.
And you're also like the face of Poppi a lot of times too. That was a thing I wanted to ask you is, can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, obviously we're at Vayner, I've got Gary's signature behind me. Gary is the face of a lot of our content. You're the face of a lot of Poppi's content. Can you talk about that journey of being like the brains, but also the face of this brand?
Yeah. I mean, when we first started out, I just had this obsession with this place that was free to talk to our community, right? I think we started out getting 200 views. Now we have over 2 billion views on TikTok. I think a third of the platform has seen my face about 7 times. So it's kind of crazy. I always say, like, it's so fun that I'm a mom of 3 and I'm 37 and I'm so cool to Gen Z. Like, I'm so here for it. I think if we can get over that fear of, I'm not cool enough, or I said this already, and versus just getting on and being authentic, people, they flock to it, right? We've built such a special community. So with me as founder in the face, I am a tool for success at Poppi, right? It's an added to thing that just makes absolute sense to me. Like, if I can get on and talk to our consumer and like listen to them, it's just so easy personally. So I get on, I study the platform every morning. I know the trends. I don't leave it up to the intern or the young girl in the company. It's part of one of our core values here, and just to be digital social first. And so we've made it a priority and we're seeing it pay off.
You sure are. So I also wanted to ask about your New York Fashion Week party launch. I think it was Cherry Cola, right? Also iconic. Can you talk a little bit about that and maybe how that strategy also is playing out? Because I think that was also digital and social first, but with a heavy component of experiential.
Yeah. So since we first launched the first 2 years, we weren't allowed to do anything in real life because of COVID. And what I loved about these opportunities, it is the first time we did one in January. And what was the most surprising piece of that was our community and the line around the block and the people just desperate to get a hold of our merch or see something that was a brand or meet me. It was so special. We wanted to find other ways to open it up to the community. But with everything we do, we're culture first. We love to say we move at the speed of culture. So it made the most sense for us to do it on New York Fashion Week when everybody's already culturally there for an event. So it's easier to get talent to our event. We centered it around music, which is culture pillar. We had 50 Cent perform, and then the community. So it was music, culture, talent, all in one in this perfect like mashup. And yes, we had doubled the amount of community. We had over 3,000 people show up over 2 days. The line was wrapped for hours, but we programmed the line. It was just like absolutely insane. And it just reiterates how with anything we do, we want to make sure and do it 360, where it's not just talent, it's community and talent. And it's a recipe for success.
And when you think about designing that physical space or even the line, maybe talk a little bit about how you're designing that to be social first, because I saw so much content similar to how you just mentioned that college students all have a phone like right here. I mean, let's be real, who doesn't have a phone right there? Right. But you all also created an environment where people could, take content. It was almost like an event for content.
Correct. Yeah. It was so funny. Like while designing it, we were like, every little corner has to be a content hub. So much so that we spent extra money on lighting to make sure that we had ring lights everywhere and content first. And one of my favorite added things is we had for the community day, two photographers walking around acting like they were paps and they were papping our community, and you immediately got those photos on your phone to share out, right? Like everything was accessible within few seconds, content first, video, like all of these things just ready to download for our community and talent. And I think that that is 100%. If you do these events and you don't have a way to amplify it, we always say it's like bringing sand to the beach. It's kind of pointless at the end of the day in this digital first era. So 100% content first was goal number one with designing, and then it had to look super dope and cool and be a vibe. So we tend to do good at that as well.
It looked absolutely amazing from all the content, all on brand, all like in color, but also authentic. It wasn't like that, style where it's like everything has to look the exact same. It went together, but everyone was able to put their unique spin on it.
We love it. We love it. It was the hottest party at New York Fashion Week. And I love saying that because we are a soda brand and not a fashion brand. So just saying.
I love it. Okay, so Allison, we are on a TikTok council together, and I feel like you're always schooling a lot of the CMOs. You're like, why don't you just do it? Just push it. So if you were sending marketers and CMOs back to school, what is the one thing that you would tell them to learn and focus on?
That's a good one. I think for me, yes, I am a TikTok queen and it's like organic, but I think if people go back to school, is learning physically how to edit, how to be on your phones, how to like go through, it's like this like digital creation of it. Like I know how to edit, do all of the stuff on TikTok. And I know we always say TikTok, but really this is YouTube, this is Instagram. It's all the platforms in this video first era. So it's like, cool, be a performance marketing and understand metrics and how to buy media, but it's like you actually have to know how to create. And we look at that on resumes when we're hiring people. We ask like, are you actually active on the platforms? What kind of, like, it is such a skill set that is so needed nowadays. Doesn't mean you have to be the star or the face of, but understanding how it works, I think is really, really a big piece. And then just focusing on brand versus product 101, right? Like, cool, you can learn all the traditional funnels and like I don't have any of that background, and it's served us well and thinking disruptive. And so thinking outside the box, I think is helpful.
Allison, you're an icon. I love that you just talked about practitionership, which I think is something that, it's one of our core values at Vayner. Like we're all up in all this stuff all the time, but not being afraid to be hands-on and to be a practitioner is such an important lesson. And if you learn anything from this, you can see the incredible success of Allison and her amazing brand Poppi. Allison, I hope to see you soon, maybe at Art Basel.
Yes, we're there.
And everybody go, if you haven't tried Poppi, do yourself a favor.
Oh, thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Allison.
Bye.
That was also a really interesting segue because Allison just talked about sort of her background from entrepreneur to TikTok star. Next up, we have one of my very favorite marketers, Kaisy O'Reilly, who comes from the school of great marketers, which is called Procter & Gamble. Kaisy and I met 5 or 6 years ago when I was in Singapore, and she was leading a lot of the great work behind an iconic skincare brand called SK2. Facial Treatment Essence is the absolute godsend. And Kaisy, you've had just an incredible, I would say like traditionally accoladed career as a marketing leader, starting at Procter, working on brands like I believe Safeguard and SK2, and won all types of prestigious awards, pretty much every award that can be won in the creative industry. You are an incredible brand marketer and thinker who also understands media in a really deep way. And now you're at Stuart Weitzman as the Chief Marketing Officer. So Kaisy, thank you for joining us, and thank you for being here on Marketing for the Now.
I'm so glad to be here. Wow, thank you for all of that. Excited to be here.
So Kaisy, tell us a little bit about sort of your marketing school of thought. We just heard Allison's very entrepreneurial. Tell us about you as the big brand thinker.
Yeah, I think there's a common thread among all of this, like obsession with culture, what's happening with the people around us across many different generations, but just like really what's happening out there, that natural curiosity about what drives people's mindsets, their choice of every day. So it's just so important to be that obsessed with consumer and culture to be relevant. And that's the biggest challenge that always like keep me up at night. Like, how can I stay relevant to the consumer, right?
Consumer obsession, I feel like, is a common thread in a lot of these things. So, Kaisy, you all just launched an iconic campaign, a beautiful film that starred a lot of amazing women, a remake of a song. Can you tell us a little bit about that and maybe what inspired that and inspired a brand like Stuart Weitzman to really stand up for an important topic?
Yeah. So I have this role for about 10 months now. And so it's really important for me to look at not only the heritage, but also what the brand means to a lot of people. So, and then what are they looking for right now? So to move the brand forward, it was very important to like marry those two. Like, what is it that people celebrate about the brand, and what are they looking for now, and how can we like surprise and delight for the future? So that was like the challenge in this campaign going in, and it's fall, back to school. It's like our biggest season. So with that, just a little bit more about the brand and how we came to this. Stuart Weitzman is a luxury footwear brand. A lot of people recall this very beautiful minimalist black and white images of our supermodels, and they're always like celebrated like in a beautiful way, very, very iconic. But as we know, our Stuart Weitzman woman is not just black and white. Like, she's so multidimensional, and especially now and back to school, like she's having a big day before she even has to go to the office to like prepare the kids and like juggling multiple hats and like all that stress that comes with just like modern womanhood, right? So how can we portray what Stuart Weitzman stood for in a modern way that really could resonate with the people of now? So we combined the black and white with the realities of everyday, and embodied with like the best cast of women that you could ever imagine. So we launched this campaign with Ali Raceman, Issa Rae, Christy Turlington, Mingxi, Lucy Liu, all who are like multi-hyphenate women. Like, we chose them because the public know them about one thing. Right. However, when you really look at their story, they're not only that, but they're more. Like Christy, she's actually a maternal health advocate. Lucy Liu, not only an actress, but a very prolific visual artist. Ali Raceman, athlete, and now really sexual abuse prevention advocate as well. So they were like so much more. And so celebrating that with the heritage of Stuart Weitzman, the result is the campaign. So if you haven't checked it out, please look it up. How lovely to be a woman. It's just like,
and that was also a remake of the song, right? So maybe, to me, the song was what stood out right away. Like the cast of, for one, I think that's such a Kaisy move, because I know you like to have a couple of celebrities who tell the story in different dimensions, but have the common thread. But I thought the music was what's really stood out to me. Maybe you could share a bit about that.
Absolutely. I think it's really just looking at our target consumer and like things that resonate with them. It is an oldie but goodie. It came out in 1963, I think, and it was actually a song which is a little bit more of a subversion also of what womanhood was back then.
Right.
This lyrics of like, how lovely to be a woman and have just one job to do, which was to attract a man or like be pretty for a date. Like, how good would it be if we modernize that? If we like turn on its head and like portray what we're trying to say with that as like the backdrop. So it was like just a perfect connection, rooted in trying to understand what we're trying to say for the consumer. So
still, how lovely to be a woman. And I think that like really brought it together, and just the power of sound and film is so important. And, I think it's an interesting contrast, because we've been talking a lot around sort of social trends and participating in those. And, also I think that matters. And I also think big brand building still matters. How do you think about sort of orchestrating those types of campaigns so that they're appealing to your modern women who are, yes, they're mothers, they're career women, they're executives, like that's the Stuart Weitzman consumer, but they're also on social media, and they might also be on TikTok, and they're also looking at trends on Instagram. How do you think about orchestrating a big campaign like that through the line?
Yeah, no, I think it's super, super important. There's a lot more rolling out. Like, this is a campaign that we actually started but it's going to be like months and months that we're going to be putting more stuff out there. I think it was very integral to this campaign, the choice of women that we have and how strong their communities are as well. So we were very, very clear about bringing to life their stories through their communities first. Look, so with Issa Rae, for example, we really looked into like what are the activities that she's doing with Hooray Media, with Via Ray, and she has so many other businesses, and it's just being very authentic to like what she's going through and being there wherever she is in the right moments. She was recently, for example, awarded by Fast Company as a top 10 innovators in the past 10 years. And we were there with her in Fast Company, of course, wearing our shoes, boosting her confidence, and like capturing all of this moment that she's moguling and building milestones for. So there's that one aspect. Our talents, building their communities, and through that, so it's very authentic and they get it. But also the music, as you said, it's a very, very easy creative device to make it for people to latch on and like to create content for. So there's more to come on that, but we're starting first with the community that our talents currently have and building that connection and social engagement with them.
People are saying in the comments they love your viewpoints, and wow, it's absolutely stunning campaign. So absolutely check it out. Stuart Weitzman also, you mentioned fall is the biggest season. Their boots are very iconic. There's a couple of shoes that are iconic within the collection, but I feel like the boots, I've been seeing all the girls and Hussain, all the girlies like going to their corporate jobs in the boots because fall is upon us in New York. Yeah. And Kaisy, if you were sending marketers back to school on one topic, maybe think back to your P&G days and Brand Builder Academy, what would be the one thing that you encourage them to study up on?
As is very true back then and now, I started with this: the consumer is boss. Like really, like any decisions that are up in the air and people are conflicted or like having some very strong point of views on from many different angles. Once we root everyone back, is this going to be right for the consumer? Is this actually what she's looking for? That will really be the North Star and guide all of the decisions.
I love it. Kaisy, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for sharing a bit about your amazing campaign. I can't wait to see the further iterations and social scaling. I'm going to push you on that. So can't wait to see it all across socials. And thank you for being here with us on Marketing for the Now.
Take care. Bye.
Absolutely amazing. I have to say, I'm a personal consumer of Stuart Weitzman, so I love this campaign even more. And segueing into an absolutely incredible business leader who I think can give us some perspective on, maybe how marketing drives broader business results as well. We have the CEO of Skullcandy. Skullcandy is actually headquartered in Park City, Utah. Brian, are you there right now?
I am there right now, and it snowed 2 days ago.
Oh my gosh, I think I saw that in one of those like Town Lift Instagram handles. Does it feel like fall in Park City?
The leaves are changing colors, so it's definitely getting there.
Amazing. Well, thank you for being with us on Marketing for the Now. I know you have, had a really impressive and illustrious career in building businesses and companies, all in sort of focused in the area of outdoor, which is exciting and which is fun and is something consumers have so much passion around. Can you tell Marketing for the Now a little bit about yourself?
Sure. First off, Avery, thanks for having me, and watching you backstage is very impressive. You're an incredible host.
Too kind of you. I'm also seeing Dante say he loves Skullcandy growing up. Dante, you need to love Skullcandy now.
Yeah, let's do that. We're gonna win him back with a new product you'll like even now when you're maybe aged out of the consumer group that most people associate with Skullcandy. So look, answering your question, my background is all in marketing. Spent about 20 years in the board sports vertical, so skateboarding, surfing, snowboarding. Was able to run some pretty cool brands like DC Shoes and Ruka and Element Skateboards, and then kind of transitioning into outdoor. Spent 5 years with Igloo Coolers, did a turnaround of that brand in the US, and then it was acquired by the Domenic Group, which many people might know, headquartered out in Stockholm, but a big supplier of products for RVs and boats. And now made the transition over to Skullcandy, kind of back with the consumer that I grew up as part of that consumer group, and then spent a lot of time trying to sell them really cool stuff.
And products that they love. So the history of Skullcandy, I spent a lot of time in Park City. I did not realize Park City was the headquarters of Skullcandy until we recently started chatting. And then I looked into the brand history, which is something I feel like anyone can fall in love with. The founder had the idea when he was going up a lift, right? Or so the story goes.
Yeah, it's the best story, and it makes us so authentic as a lifestyle brand. So internally and kind of when we're talking to business partners, our origin story is born on a chairlift. So our founder was producing an event at the Canyons Resort, literally riding up a chairlift in the year 2001, and had a pair of wired buds connected to his iPod before your mobile device was invented as it is today. Listening to music, and then he got a phone call, which was his aha moment of, oh, I wish I could switch back and forth from the phone to my music. And our very first product was a pair of wired earbuds with a split jack to connect into two devices with a 3.5 millimeter port and a toggle switch to go back and forth. And that was in 2002, came to market as Skullcandy, started selling in skate shops, surf shops, snowboard shops, and the rest is history.
Amazing. And during that time, you all have obviously pivoted from being a product to being a brand that's beloved. I can just think of, the logo in my mind, very clear. The name is amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about what you all are up to now? I believe there's a back to skull sale. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the core of our business is really that board sports consumer, and then as we go out into much broader markets, we tend to be a little bit younger at heart, and a little more active than the general consumer set. So you can find us distributed essentially everywhere consumer electronics are sold. So big retailers being Walmart and Best Buy in the U.S., and then certainly Amazon and our own direct to consumer. But we tell that message to the younger active consumer pretty well. We're very authentic in the space. The people that work here are those consumers. We have X Games medalists and Olympians and huge outdoor advocates on the staff. So they've been that consumer. They still are that consumer, and we know how to talk to them authentically. So that is things with product innovations we have coming out, where data can tell you a lot of what's happened in the past. But when you have the authenticity to take a little bit of risk on what you know is coming in the future, that's where we excel. And then the moment in time. So back to school is a big one for us. So as you mentioned, we're on the tail end of our back to skull sale. That gives us a great opportunity to speak directly to the consumer who's really in that high school and college age cohort. And the messaging is usually going organic social media through our influencers and ambassadors, and then paid campaigns on Meta and TikTok. And actually this year, the back to school sale has been our highest performing TikTok campaign to date.
I love that. So, by the way, Nate says this is one of the best brand names, which I completely agree with. You just can't. So it's interesting you talk a little bit about your organic strategy. That was the first thing you said. You're the CEO of the company, and organic social was what came to mind first. Can you talk about how organic social sort of plays a role in your marketing mix? I know you guys do paid, and I know there's acquisition campaigns, but how do you think about the role of organic social?
Again, for us, I use the word authenticity a whole lot. We have the right to produce content and put it out organically that people can believe in. And it's very clear that when potentially a competitor goes and does a deal with a skateboarder and creates very high polished content for their social campaign, it's a clear advertisement.
It's an ad.
And yeah, when we do that, this is who we are. These are our friends. This is what we're doing after work, regardless. So we put a lot of effort into creative. We do, long form creative, and then tons and tons of cut downs that have opportunities to live natively on multiple different platforms. And then the way we get to extend that content is also with the set of ambassadors and influencers we work with. So sometimes we'll take an influencer that's, really part of our family, that's a little bit left of center, maybe a fitness influencer who loves Skullcandy, wears our product in the gym, and they might be appearing alongside one of our skateboarders or surfers inside some of our organic content, but then their audience comes to Skullcandy. We get, a lot of our reach outside of our owned audience from influencers like that, and then they go post the content on their channels and on and on and on. So organic is certainly more important for us as a lifestyle brand than paid is, but paid is definitely where the commercial the commercial success comes in.
Absolutely. I think, we're in this amazing moment of organic social where actually you can post things organically that do get a lot of engagement and impressions. Like Allison, who CEO of Poppi, they've had incredible success, like going viral on TikTok and whatnot organically. But at the end of the day, of course, paid helps juice it. Paid helps drive the commercial results. Paid helps you target, hey, I want to be in Utah and not in Colorado, whatever it is. Yep. So it certainly matters, but it's really interesting you brought that up, along with the concept of, what I would call strategic seeding, which I think is also so important and so interesting. And, you talked a little bit about the authenticity of relating to lifestyle, relating to outdoor enthusiasts, but also sort of bridging that into like gym girlies and like those people who are maybe like not necessarily in your board sports community, but are adjacent. How does your team identify those? Is it people who are engaging you all? Do you have like a sort of target list? I'd love to understand how you guys think about that.
Yeah, we've identified our total addressable market into 3 cohorts. One is active, one are content creators, and third is gamers. In those, we have very detailed data around who these people are, what they do, or why they do what they do, what the use case for product is going to be, and then we look at all of those concentric circles and cohorts of, these people that really love skateboarding. There's a big cohort that also happen to really care about fitness, or because maybe they're a surfer, they really care about travel because they want to go on a vacation and surf a different wave. So we look in the data set of what are these consumers doing that research is telling us. We look at, again, going back to authenticity, can we actually tell a real story to those consumers that might be a little left of center, right of center, and then a bit of intuition. We've got to allocate resource just like everybody else does, and we don't want to spread it too thin. So where can we get the most bang for our buck that tells the right story to grow our brand versus take too much risk and alienate the core consumer?
Amazing. Well, I'm seeing some comments of people who are rooting for Skullcandy, who love Skullcandy. I know I do too. And it's really interesting just to hear, you go so deep on these segmentations, how you will identify that, and how you lean into the communities who already love your product and have a lot of that affinity. And I also, you dropped a hint that we've got some new products coming soon for Skullcandy. So I'm going to have to get my hands on some next time they come out live in Park City.
Well, we have some very, very exciting stuff in the product pipeline. So people that know Skullcandy well, this holiday, you're going to be excited at some of the products that we bring back. People that don't know us well, we're going to win you in spring of 25 with some very, very interesting new innovations.
All right, everybody, you heard it here first from Brian. Follow along to see what Skullcandy is up to. Brian, thank you so much. And I hope you guys, I'm crossing my fingers for some early snow this year.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Avery. We'll talk to you soon.
So amazing. I feel like these are we're hitting on some core Vayner topics: strategic social seeding, organic social, brand through the funnel, events as content. And we are closing off with one of our favorite Vayner alumni. Hussain is up next. Hussain, thank you for taking the time to be with us today. I'm glad we get to close this out with some real fam. So nice to see you.
Yeah, good to see you, Avery. How are you?
I am great. Hussain, you have had an incredible career. I believe you started as a consultant. You spent some time agency side, a little stint at Vayner, where you actually helped us launch some really cool and interesting stuff. Then you went brand side, Airbnb, Meta. Now you're at Adobe, bringing your magic there. Tell the Marketing for the Now community a little bit about Hussain.
Yeah, sure. Hi, Hussain. Live in Oakland, California. And like you said, I've had a really fun, lucky career. I started in music. Spent 6 years at Vayner, which was awesome. Did a lot of entertainment work there. Been at Meta, Airbnb, and now Adobe. I feel like I've been doing social since it was new media, and I'm still in love with the platforms and the kind of that aspect of it. So it's been a really fun kind of journey.
Absolutely incredible. And you mentioned you've been in social since it was new media. And I think a lot of big companies still think that social is new media. In your role, you're currently overseeing the sort of editorial strategy for Adobe, which I have to say must be like the #1 most used digital product by the Vayner X creative team. Can you tell us a little bit about how y'all think about social at Adobe?
Yeah, I think, for us, it's really about humanizing the products. Adobe's, it's such a privilege to work at a company like Adobe with the products that we have. You have everything from Photoshop, which, every creative professional in the world uses. You have Acrobat, which is a household kind of daily product, hundreds of millions of users. And then you have challenger brands like Adobe Express. And so with all the different products that we have, I think for us in social, it's really about how do you educate, inspire, entertain people, let them know all the things they can do and make with our products. I think people are often, surprised what we hear from our audience is like some of them, again, you have Photoshop, you spent 20 years in it, you think you know everything about it, but there's so much more we can do and show you and explain to you, and the community is so strong. So I think it's about kind of just putting a human element to things to really like explaining and educating people on what you can do with our products.
And you're a real student of the game yourself, Hussain. What is your method for staying on top of these trends? Because there's like you just mentioned, the community of creatives for Adobe. There's different tips and tricks, just like anything, right? It could be Excel, it could be Keynote, it could be Adobe. There's always something else you can know. You might like know your basics, but like there's always a level deeper, a level beyond. How do you personally stay up to date with trends? Having worked in social for, I don't know, I see some gray hairs now. It's been a while, huh?
It has been a while, yeah. I think, it's like a lot of folks already said, you have to be obsessed with your audience. You really have to kind of follow what they're doing and be part of the community. I think it's one thing that, we take really seriously at Adobe is how do we be authentic? How do we be part of it? And not just feel like we're speaking down from a mountain, And I think that is a lot of us is spending time where our audience spends time, spending time on the platforms. It helps us become contextually relevant. It helps us create things that they'll care about. So it's just a lot of listening. I think you have to be like a fan and a user of your own products. And there's also data-driven stuff, and there's tools, and there's all sorts of things like that. But a lot of it for me is just listening. And then I would say, as to your point about the gray hairs, like a lot of it is listening to the younger folks on the team. Like what I might think is like culturally relevant might be a little bit dated today, but there are so many like smart young people around, and I think it's really important to listen to your team. Like they have their finger on the pulse, even if they might not have the data, or they might not necessarily have like the long expertise in how to craft these things. Like their gut is right, And so I think a lot of it is just listening to the team, kind of like absorbing kind of what the conversation is.
I'm going to break my response to 2 parts. I'll start with the second one. And Hussain, I think that what you're talking about there is really around leadership style. And that's something I observed in you at Vayner, is trusting the team, like letting the, intern or the resident, like, hey, you got an idea, let's try it. Like I'm down to listen. I think that's such an important takeaway as we're sort of in this back to school season of older doesn't necessarily mean you're right. Great ideas can come from anywhere. And glad to hear that hasn't changed a bit on you. My second question is, you said you're listening. Where are you listening? You said the platforms. Like, what are the places that you go for inspiration and to sort of hear from your community?
Yeah, again, it depends on the product. Like, if you're looking at Photoshop, there's a tremendous Reddit community, that's constantly kind of doing tips and tricks and tutorials.
So many tips and tricks on those Reddit forums.
Right, they're great. And then, there's obviously TikTok, which I think if you're not using TikTok to listen to your community, you're missing out on a huge aspect of current conversation. But it's really all the platforms, like it's Twitter still, it's Threads, it's, being in the Instagram comments. I think the comment section is like the most underrated part of social media right now. And there's so much goodness to be had there. And so I think it's really all over the place. And I think that's one of the things that I, like I said, I've been doing this for a long time. And so, being a real user, I think, is really how I try to do it. And so, again, the comment section is great, Reddit's great. And then I think there's also like, newer platforms like Discord, where there's tons of really great tight-knit communities, right. People helping other people, giving people information. And so those are the areas that I'm really excited about, right? There's kind of the world in which the brand talks to a consumer, but there's also consumers talking to each other. And those are the most interesting conversations often, is like, how are people talking about you or your brand or your product when you're not in the room? And I try to creep into those rooms so I can listen. But those are where you really get an authentic understanding of like, what are people really feeling about your products?
the comment section is so underrated. Like people are constantly saying, especially if something's a little bit controversial, they're like, I ran to the comments, like running to the comments, the speed of which I ran to the comments. Hussain, are you all as Adobe sort of playing and commenting as creative? This is a thing that we've been having so much fun with at Vayner on behalf of our brands, is like jumping into conversations where, of course, we've got the right to play and it's not weird, but sort of jumping in there because that can just drive disproportionate like conversation and value and show that like we're in on this too. How do you think about that?
Yeah, it's huge. I think, you know, we are doubling down on community management in 2025. You know, I think it's one of those kind of things that I think in the beginning of social media, that was the primary thing that you did, you know, was really kind of like talk to community. And then I think over the years, things have kind of gotten away from that, you know, and people are really focused on like broadcast and all that kind of stuff. That makes a lot of sense. But I mean, to your point, like you see really outsized reaction when you can like nail a comment or a top comment. Especially when it's the right place, right time. You know, I think there's lots of great, like Duolingo does a great job with this. You know, I think we do a pretty good job with it. But you know, it's really, really like crazy to see like the sort of outsized reaction that we'll have like on an influencer post, a celebrity post, another brand post, when you show up again with the right kind of moment, right thing. And, you know, kind of like I said in the beginning, like it's all about being human and humanizing your brand. Like, I think when people see a brand like act like a person, you know, because they know there's a person behind that comment, you know, and the more we can bring that to the surface, I think the more the audience and the consumers are like, you know, really appreciative of that.
I love that so much. Leah says she's seen Adobe in a bunch of relevant comment sections, so we love it. People, the community is seeing it. You know, Hussain, I'm curious as you all think about your experiential strategy. Adobe Max is coming up. It's actually happening in Miami. I know we've got a couple of folks from Vayner Miami, where I'm sitting right now, and we are excited to host you soon. Going to it. Can you talk about how you all think about maximizing sort of some of those experiential, I believe it's more of a B2B thing, but how do you think about creating content and participating in dialogue that's happening as sort of social chatter around your big tentpoles as Adobe?
Yeah, I mean, Max is super exciting. You know, it's 10,000 plus of like, you know, the creative community coming together in one place. And from a content perspective, you know, we think about it as a massive content capture opportunity. And so a lot of it's, you know, inviting influencers, and, you know, influencers for us are creative professionals, which is really convenient. Right. A lot of ways, you know, like you have amazing creatives coming there. So how do we maximize, you know, their opportunities to make content, both from giving them like opportunities to make it by giving them sets and those kind of things. But also from our perspective, I think we're approaching it a bit differently this year by really trying to take a look at it like almost like we're a TV network, or like we're a broadcast agency kind of going down on the ground. And so, you know, on the ground coverage, capturing what the community is like saying and doing, you know, treating it really like a moment where we can like, you know, like NBC covers the Olympics. We want to cover, you know, our own conference like that. And so those are the ways I think you can really maximize like a volume of content. And again, I think, you know, I really would encourage
volume of content must clip.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you need a lot of content. And I think honestly, like I would advise people, like, don't underrate the power of like influencers and outside voices. You know, there are so many people making great content every single day on platforms. And the more you can get people that are in your community to make content for you, I think it really makes your life a lot easier. And it, you know, I think it's also a lot more authentic to other, you know, other users and other audience members when they see people from the community making content at your thing. So for me, it's about, you know, we have a great strategy for the content we'll make, but I also really want to encourage people that are there to make content. And I want to create as many opportunities for that as possible.
I love it. Okay, Hussain, you're our final speaker. The question we asked everyone: if you were sending marketers back to school on one topic, what would it be?
Yeah, you know, everyone said customer obsessed already, so I'm gonna try to come up with a different one, because I do think that that's a big one. But I would say, you know, try to have fun. You know, like marketing should be fun. Social should be fun. The community can feel it when you're having a good time making the content. You know, and I think that is something that I think the more complicated the business is and the harder things get and the more data driven everything becomes, people just kind of forget that, like, at the end of the day, like the brands that I think are doing well, you can tell the team's having fun doing it. So, you know, I would tell all marketers and all marketing leaders, like, you know, try to make your team a good team, try to make a happy, healthy team, because that's what's going to make the work really good.
So true. Hussain, thank you for closing us out strong. Always wonderful to see you. And if anyone is listening to this who is interested in going to Adobe Max, strongly recommend in my home city of Miami. So I hope to see many of y'all there. And thank you everybody for tuning in to an action-packed episode of Back to School Marketing for the Now. This was one of my favorites. Maybe we need to bring back the virtual format. We've been doing in person, but I'm like, I don't know, maybe virtual needs to be back in the mix. So much fun. And Hussain, thanks for ending so the bang.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.